So I don't know if you've heard, but Maureen's been going through a lot of ups and downs lately. First of all, she was let go of her job at the department store because the store closed. Then she inherited a historical inn in Florida. So, since she has no way of paying her rent in her current living situation, okay, this may actually be a great opportunity. She can run an inn, right, with no experience, no big deal. She packs up her belongings and her golden retriever, Finn, and heads down to Florida, where she is warned about the ghost hunters because this inn is so old. You won't believe the old Hollywood stars that have been here, which is a great marketing point, but also attracts a lot of ghost hunters. It's really not Maureen's speed. It's probably even worse that day one that she gets there, one of them dies. You're the ghost hunter. You're not supposed to be the ghost. So hi, I am Neri. We are back. I've been waiting to just get this review done because I had a great time reading this book. We are talking about Cozy Saturday, where I review the cozy mystery that I've newly delved into. I give the non-spoiler review, rating, tell you whether or not I'd continue the series, and then we go into the spoilery reviews. So today we're talking about Be My Ghost by Carol J. Perry. This is the first in the Haunted Haven Mysteries series. So I originally started this book as an ebook and then switched to audiobook just because time-wise I wanted to finish the book, but I knew that I did not have a lot of time to do so. Again, I really actually enjoyed this story. I have been a little critical in the past when someone inherits something in one of these cozy mysteries and they don't know how to run it, and we're not quite sure if they have all of the resources. But Maureen is actually quite clever and smart, and I don't know if honestly I'd say she's right about not indulging in ghost hunters a little bit, but anywhere that's old, ghost hunters just like spawn. So she's probably going to have to get used to it regardless. In this book, there are a lot of things happening kind of all at once. And a lot of things happen to Maureen in that, oh, obviously, if she found the body, she's gonna be the suspect. But she does not even suspect herself as a suspect, if that makes sense. She's just thinking, I still need to look at the numbers for this inn, and I still want to make it work. Like, pretty much right in the beginning, the lawyer who's talking to her kind of tells her, like, if you don't want the inn, you could sell it. Sometimes in these wills, there's like a stipulation, like, if you want this inheritance, you got to run this business for a year. She doesn't have that issue. She could sell it if she wants to. She could start somewhere new if she wants to. I will say Maureen, while a very strong character, she kind of just goes with the flow for a lot of things. As a businesswoman, she does take initiative, but she doesn't really try to find opportunities for herself, which was why the inn falling into her lap was kind of just perfect. The side characters are really helpful. The people in this town are kind of split in terms of, do they believe in ghosts? Do they not believe in ghosts? And then even if they say they don't believe in ghosts, do they actually believe in ghosts? I think to a certain extent, everybody in this story believes in the ghosts. Maureen does have a lot of help. There is a manager who has been running the inn for a long time, and we're let known pretty early on that this manager, Elizabeth, thought that she would be the one to take over the inn because she has been doing so. But she didn't inherit it. So one of the things that I didn't actually enjoy about this book was the pacing, because it just, as a reader, it becomes increasingly obvious that there is a lot of things going on, and everything that Maureen tries to do when she looks at numbers to fix this hotel leads to, you have to solve the mystery because somebody died on your premises and there is a suspicion of foul play. Like, I understand businesses tend to keep moving, but given this particular instance and the media that this attracts, because this ghost hunter was a very public persona, you should probably like lay low, either let the cops figure it out or figure it out yourself, because obviously this is a cozy mystery. You fell into it. You are an amateur sleuth now. That is the only way this works. And one thing that Maureen does have going for her is that she is not the only person who wants to solve this mystery. So there is a little bit of a group effort. So it's not like, even as an amateur sleuth at this point, she is only on her own. But this book comes with a couple different mysteries in it and different storylines that kind of branch out. And so in a way, it was just distraction on distraction on distraction from the main mystery. And I could have done without that, or the pacing could have been better where it would have felt a little bit more natural for us to include these storylines that are sweet, but makes it feel so much longer than it should have been. This is not, by the way, a story with a cop romance, as far as I'm aware in this first book. That does not seem to be the way that this is going. Which, fine, because the police, the way that they act in this is also a little suspicious on its own. We're talking about a new person coming into a town where the residents have been here in this small town for a while. They've, what do they call it? They've put down their roots and everything. And if the killer is one of their own, would they believe that? So, me being someone who reads cozy mysteries, and it's like, I know Maureen is in a very precarious situation, but she doesn't know that she's in a precarious situation, frustrated me a little. But I felt bad that it's like, what if it doesn't matter? What if justice doesn't matter? What if the cops just side with the person? If it is somebody from the town that they already know. Like, that was one of my sneaking suspicions, that like, why are they so weird? They seem so weird. Why are you a detective? Like, there's a detective. Why are you gathering evidence, but you're dodging questions like a lawyer? But I guess they're supposed to know how to do that. The dynamic was good in a way that, like, it added tension, but Maureen is so caught up with everything practical that is in her power to control. She's like, I'm not looking at anything else. And I'm like, girl, look, you need to look. This needs to be you figuring this out, because this is so frustrating. That is how I felt during this book. And it wasn't that it was bad, but I think as an introduction, it's good, and hopefully she hones the ability to amateur sleuth. But one thing that Elizabeth says in the beginning of the book, when the body is found, so it's like, it's not really a spoiler, because it's so early on in the book, but she says, why do they always come here to die? And I'm like, oh no. So Maureen's gonna have people just dying on the property regardless. Granted, I think Elizabeth was like, normally older folks will go on vacation, and vacations may be a little too relaxing, but it just begs the question of, oh, if that is the case, then is this something that has been going on before? Have we had mysteries like this before with the previous owner? Is this a situation where Maureen should just expect that this type of thing will happen? And will she be up to amateur sleuthing every single time? I've always wondered why there isn't a lot more suspicion regarding some main characters of cozy mysteries, where bodies are just falling left and right about them, and they're always getting involved to solve it. Like, isn't that the thing where it's like, the murderer always returns to the scene of the crime. They always want to get involved. None of these main characters ever want to get involved, really, but there's circumstances where they have to. And when we're talking about, okay, 1, 2, 3 times, I get it, it's a coincidence, but by the time you're on book 15, is that still Of course, by then, they will have had to have built enough good relationships in the town to be free of that suspicion, which then just kind of adds into, well, if they did do it one day, then the people of that town would be like, maybe they had a good reason. Maybe they were a good person. Maybe I would just believe them instead of whoever's accusing them. Like what I was talking about, like I think about this stuff sometimes, and it just makes me wonder if anyone's written that cozy mystery yet. But I'm going on a totally different tangent. I apologize. Also, a non-spoiler negative, I just felt like, as someone who reads these mysteries but doesn't automatically try to solve them, I will tell you that the killer was obvious from the jump. Not how they did it, not who was involved. It was just kind of, the motive was there. And I don't think that other readers won't clock that as well. It's pretty obvious. But I still thought it was a great introduction. I think there is also a potential for a slow burn romance, and I love a slow burn romance. So I rated this, even with everything that I've said, I still enjoyed myself, and I rated it a 4 out of 5. I think I would try out a few more books just to see the character development, and I'd have to see character development because this book was a good introduction, but it also felt like bare bones. And I definitely want to know more about the ghosts and the ghost aspect, because it's actually a pretty interesting but almost not too important part of the story, if that makes sense. It's like they're there. Let's move into the spoilery sections. I want to talk about the ghosts. So the first ghost that we meet, and she is really sweet. She, back in the day tried to be a Hollywood starlet. I think she was a body double for Jean Harlow. I forget her name, but she's really sweet. And she and the dynamic between her and Maureen kind of start to come together quite nicely. She tells Maureen about all the different ghosts that are in the inn and where they go, what they visit. And she's not the only one. Okay, she's the only ghost I believe that Maureen talks to or sees. But other people in the town also tell Maureen, like, she'll visit and someone will be like, that diner over there, like one night there were lights and it was playing music and we don't know what was going on. And then the ghost will be like, hey Maureen, yeah, we go to a party here. Babe Ruth comes by. There's a ghost pianist, even though it's like a one of those self-playing pianos. Sometimes he unplugs it and he plays it himself, and all of this really, really cool stuff. And I'm also still really happy that even with them being ghosts, they have their own lives. So they're not really checking for the living more than they have to. And so they do not solve the mystery. Like, just because you're a lurking ghost doesn't mean you know everything. Like, because that I felt like that could have been so easy for the ghost to be like, hey Maureen, this is the killer. This is how you can prove it. And I'm glad it wasn't that. There are a lot of different limitations to different cases of ghosts, which is interesting. Gives me a little bit of world building, and I like it. One thing I will say though, I don't really recommend the audiobook version, and the reason that I say that is because some of the voices for the characters I felt were either too close, like Elizabeth and then the lawyer. the way that they spoke, I didn't like it. I understood it with Elizabeth, where she's like, I am a really burnt out employee, but also I don't really want to work. And so everything I do is going to sound like this. Ghost hunters are so obnoxious. Oop, I can't believe one died. Why do they always come here to die? And then you have the lawyer who just sounds like someone's slow talking therapist. And I think the narrator was trying not to slip into her Elizabeth voice, but she did it a little bit because it's just a little bit more airy. And then it's not even like she's talking faster than Elizabeth. She's still talking slow. Like if I were to read you something at the speed of, and I listen to this at normal speed. I don't usually listen to things at normal speed. I usually listen to things at like 1.25 at the lowest, and then 2 times speed at the highest. Like whatever it is that I'm listening to, unless I'm like watching a video where I have to pay attention to the video, I will speed it up. If I don't need to pay that much attention to the ups and downs of your audio, I will speed it up a little bit. I've gotten used to doing that with all of my podcasts, but this one I played at the normal speed, and I feel like if I put this character on 2 times speed, she'll be talking at regular person speed. Okay, let me read you a sentence at the speed of this character, okay? Just some piece of dialogue. Okay. Random page, let's go. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry. There are 2 men in the front who are super insistent on talking to you. One said he's your dad. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I would have got you right away if I'd known. I was like, ma'am, do you talk like that in court? Does a judge listen to you talk like that? It's just, I'm not even like doing the voice for her character, by the way. I just want to make that very, very clear. The narrator her voice is fine. The speed in which this character talk, I don't understand. I think I would have hired another lawyer. But technically, this lawyer is on contract with the inn and the previous owner, so their services are free till the end of the year. So I can see why Maureen just withstood it with everybody else talking to her at normal speed. And her lawyer's like, you need to tell me everything that's going on. Again, I'm not trying to do the narrator's voice. Apparently that's what I default to when I'm trying to talk really, really slow. So that's just me. And if I had sat through the ebook, I'm pretty sure that in my mind I would have read the characters differently. I know that in the book it says that the characters will speak slowly, but even then I feel like I would read it differently to where it's not that slow. I'm sorry. That's like probably one of my biggest complaints. You have Elizabeth who's like, oh my god, I have to take care of something. And then the lawyer who's like, I am your lawyer and your therapist, and you need to tell me everything. Even if you think you don't know, you might know. And how does that make you feel enraged? That's it for this review. I'll still read the next one, but I would only pick it up as an ebook, not as an audiobook. That's just on me and my preference. Other than that, usually I like to kind of preview-ish what I'm going to review next, but I don't know. Because I started another cozy, and I was like, oh, this one, I'm going to DNF. So I have to decide what I want to read next. And that is this Saturday's review. Thank you so much for joining me and listening to me sort of end this in a rant. But I would still recommend this book, just not the audiobook. And I will see you next time. Bye!